questions here now. Can I have a breast reduction and breast implants at the same time? I don't know what you feel about this, Shahil, but I don't like it. It doesn't sit right with me. It is a thing. And you might say, hold on a minute, what are you talking about? Breast reduction and breast implants at the same time. What? Well, yes, it is a thing. And the reason it's a thing, because if you have a breast reduction or a breast lift, something that personally I always make a point of when I say to people having a breast reduction or a breast lift, I always point out the sort of shape that can be achieved when having that surgery. When you first have the surgery, you push all the volume up north. The implant, the breasts are sort of underneath your chin, and you might think, oh, that's good, but it always settles. When it's natural breast tissue, it always settles. So actually, to be honest with you, it looks a bit weird when you first have it done. And then it always settles to a natural breast shape, which is like a concavity in the upper pole. So that shape is what you'll get if you have a breast lift or breast implants. And sometimes people have in their mind the sort of shape you can get with implants, which is sustained fullness in the upper pole. It's like a bump in the upper pole. If there's like a convexity rather than a concavity in the upper pole, well, that is implants. And you, out of a bra, I might add, this is in a bra, you can get a convexity, but out of a bra, it always goes into a concavity. The breasts settle to what I would say is a natural breast shape. But this is a conversation we have to have pre-op, because you have to kind of accept that if you're going to have a breast lift or a breast reduction, because that you cannot get that bump in the upper pole, that fullness up there out of a bra without implants. In my hands, people do things all sorts when they do breast lifts to try and keep the volume up there, and they say anchor this and that, but I haven't found anything good to keep the volume up there. And in my hands, I would say you're going to have a convexity, and it's going to look natural. It's going to look better. It's going to look natural. It's going to look, good. Don't get me wrong. But if you've got in your mind this bump, that's implants. So some people say, well, hold on a minute, I want the bump. I want the bump. I want the implants thing. I'm like, yeah, well, if that's fine. But if I put implants in, what's going to happen? They're going to get bigger, aren't they? And you don't want to be bigger. In fact, you want to be smaller. If you want a breast reduction, you want a mastectomy, you don't want to be bigger. If you want a breast reduction, you want to be smaller. And you're saying you want the bump. If I put implants in, it's going to make bigger. So what there is in the world out there is people who will put implants in, but then will reduce the breast. If you want to be the same size, or even if you want to be smaller, they will reduce the breast to the volume of the implant, take out the volume of what the implant is of natural healthy breast tissue, replace it with implant, and then do the reduction on top of the implant. So you end up the same size, but you have that bump. So that is a thing. So that is a breast reduction and breast implants at the same time. So that is a thing in the world. But I personally don't feel comfortable doing it. So again, just find what people are good at and find someone who's good at that sort of thing. I don't like the concept of it. I don't like the thought of removing healthy breast tissue and replacing with implants. It doesn't sit right with me. And it's not really something that I do. Plus minus technique, they call it. I've seen someone talk on it. He was from overseas. I don't know if anyone in this country does it. Maybe they do. I don't know if they're here and online. And if one does it, then please say by all means advertise your services, because there's someone here who's interested in it. But it's not my bag. So I don't do that because I just don't feel it is right. And I would say to you, look, accept the shape that you can get with a lift and reduction, because it's still a good shape and you can wear clothes and push them up and all that sort of stuff. But what we want is we want a happy patient. So we need to explain that to you pre-op. We don't want to be explaining that to you post-op once you've had your breast lift or breast reduction and they settle and we go, oh yeah, they always look like that. And you're like, well, hold on a minute, I wanted them up there. I'm like, oh no, you can't get them up there unless you have an implant. Well, you don't have that conversation post-op, because that's just awkward, and that's a lie. That's the route to an unhappy patient, and nobody wants that. So if you want them smaller or the same size, I would advise you not to have implants. Implants, in my view, are really good to make them bigger. Yes, they do give you more fullness in the upper pole, but I wouldn't use implants just for that reason. I would use implants if you want to be bigger and fuller. Happy days, then it's an implant. Maybe there'll be a lift or whatever, but then it's an implant. But if you want to be smaller or the same size and it's just the shape that you don't like, I would say to you, just have a reduction or a lift and accept the shape that you can achieve with those operations, and accept that concavity in the upper pole. When you take your bra off, the breast will settle, and it's a normal breast shape. It's how breasts normally look. So that's where I am. That's the side of the fence I'm on with the plus minus or the breast reduction and breast implants at the same time technique